G'day guys, Ronny Dahl, Four Wheeling Australia, coming to you in this video with my top tips and advice for vehicle camping backed by 20 years of experience. Yes, 20 years plus, I've just realised the other day. Geez, I'm getting old. Let's take a trip down memory lane and you can see where these tips are going to go. First of all, my vehicle camping started in a Ford Falcon, just sedans. Camping out the back with a $30 tent and a gas cooker. Then moving up to my first four-wheel drive was a Ford Courier, very basic, had the same gear in that one. Then I bought a brand new Hilux back in 2007. That's when I started to really modify and add things to it, and I learned a lot of stuff and I spent a lot of money. Then we got to the 79 series behind me, which then emptied my pockets pretty much completely. And I made many mistakes in that vehicle, so many mistakes. Now we're on to Project Luxy. And with this, I find this is probably the most sensible build that I've done so far. If you can see a pattern there, started very basic, went right up with all this tech and gadgets that I didn't really need. Now we're back sort of down at a more balanced level. All my advice is going to be about balance and what to look out for. General stuff that people don't think about. Let's start with the core of the advice. Keep it simple. And look, anyone can just say keep it simple, right? But let's dive into this a little bit more. Having a heavily modified vehicle and driving around, going full driving, you end up with this biasness thought of you need all this stuff to go full driving. Also with all the marketing of all the that's out there, all these products that get thrown in your face when you're scrolling around on the internet, on your phone. A solar powered torch, got to get that. It's telling you you need all this stuff, when in actual fact, you don't. Having driven many stock vehicles lately, it's revitalized my realization that you don't need anything really to go forward driving. In fact, a stock vehicle is at times more capable than a heavily modified vehicle. Think about it. One's really heavy, one's really light. Picture that bogged on the beach. Breaking it down, vehicle, camping and gadgets. With your vehicle, keep it simple. Simple stupid is often better. Sure, improve some things, but don't overcomplicate things. Don't add too much gear. Especially don't go in blindly and just put stuff on it, because you'll figure out later that half of it you don't need. With camping, definitely keep it as simple as possible. Trust me on this. I've overcomplicated my camp many times. Too many tables, too much of this. It's so easy to overcomplicate camping. Keep it super simple. Sure, you can set up a big camp with a big camp kitchen and all that stuff if you're doing a base camp, but that's different. If you're just heading out to camp here and there, keep it as simple as possible. You will enjoy it much more. Gadgets. It's the biggest gimmick out there. You don't need the latest and greatest to go camping. If you have a passion in a certain field of those gadgets, sure, go for that. But don't buy the latest and greatest across the whole board. You're just wasting money. One thing you should never ever do, especially if you're new to all this, don't ever walk into a store, a full drive, accessory store, and ask the guy behind the counter, what do I need to go to this location? Because you might as well pull your pants down and bend over. And if you own a 79 or a 200, you may be down there for a little while longer. It's going to hurt. And what you don't want to end up with is EPD. EPD is bad. Hello, is this Yes Loans? Yeah, I got a bit of EPD. Yep. 79 series. Yeah, I know. And you can get it more than once. Trust me, I've been there before. One of the most overlooked things with your vehicle and your trailer and your roof is weight distribution. We're not just talking about in general, we're talking from front to back, from corner to corner, from top to bottom, and from side to side. All these things are important. And if we were to take most people's full drive rigs and put them on a weighbridge, I think a lot of them will be shocked that one of their rear corners is probably going to be very much overweight compared to the opposite side. So this is very important. I'm going to give you some quick examples of how you can improve your vehicle and your whole setup. And like I said, it's not just the vehicle, it's also your camper trailer if you have one. Also, very importantly, the roof. First example, if you put a bull bar and a winch on your vehicle and a second battery and stuff like that, the front is going to sag. You are going to have to sort out your suspension. You can't get away from that. And the same thing on the back. You also need to sort out your suspension if you're going to tow a camper trailer or a caravan, especially a caravan. I see a lot of vehicles on the road, and you do too, that are sagging at the back and lifting up at the front. The steering feels a lot lighter and stuff. It's not good. So that's one way you can sort that out. The other way is if you put something on the front, also put something on the back. Have a well-weighted vehicle. Coming out of the driver's seat and going to the opposite corner of the vehicle, you'll see something that I've been conscious of here. I have the fridge and my battery and a lot of semi-permanent stuff sitting here. It's going to sit there most of the time, which means that I have counterweighted myself from opposite corners. It's very important. If I put this on that side, then this side of the vehicle will be heavier most of the time. You'll also note that my water tank and fuel tank, auxiliary ones, they are right up against the headboard and they are over the axle. They're between the two axles. So that's another way you can do weight distribution. There's also keeping heavy things as low to the ground as possible. So if you are going to carry a water bladder, rather than having it in here, you can put it down at the footwell inside the vehicle. You're keeping it as low as possible. What you don't want is heavy stuff above and light stuff below, because you are messing with the center of gravity and you're more likely to roll over when you're swerving around something, and it will handle like an absolute pig when you're off-road. I've been there before. According to my latest and greatest suspension, I have an app that tells me the weight on each corner, and it appears that we are 0.11111258111187 out on this side. Now that I've removed the pen, it seems to be correct. So we're going to move this pen to the back seat. Ah, now we're out in the back. The roof rack. That's a touchy subject. Weight distribution. Stay on course here. As you can see, I've got MaxTrax split. I've got lights at the front. I've got awnings opposite. This is weight distribution in the raw. Let's have a look at the cruiser. The cruiser, similar thing here. We got MaxTrax one side, we've got a solar panel this side. They kind of offset each other in the weight. The awning over there is a shower tent, it's quite light. So on this side we've got the antenna and a shovel holder. Weight distribution. If you put everything to one corner or one side, it's not a good thing. Wheels on the back of your vehicles. It's best practice to have it as close to the headboard as you can, as close to being over the rear axle as possible. In some situations like wagons, you can't avoid it, so therefore it is what it is. But when you can avoid it and you can put the wheels closer to the headboard, it's good practice to do so, because then you got less weight hanging over the back. Because the more weight you got hanging over the back, the less useful is the front of your vehicle. So when you're going through ruts and stuff, you're really going to lift the front wheels a lot. And with some vehicles like the 79 series, they lift front wheels all the time. So when you see those big heavy setups with the big canopy and the big two wheels off the back, they don't handle the best. Having an organised setup and a purpose-built vehicle for what you need is very important. Let's break it down. We'll start with the obvious first. There are three different types of vehicles in my mind in this category. You have the vehicle for work and play, then you have your hybrid vehicle that's kind of semi-set up for camping and four-wheel driving and traveling, but also set up so you can work with it. You're working with it, so to say. Then you have the permanent setup. Now I'll consider both these vehicles to a degree permanent setups, especially the Land Cruiser. We've got a box on the back here. If I was a bricklayer and my boss rang me, "Hey, you going, boss? Cement mixer, got it, 10 bags of cement, right, I'll be there in about 5 hours. If I can borrow 2 blokes, a forklift and a Sparky. And a bag of tools." This is a hindrance if you want to use it for work, depending on what work you do, of course. So this is permanent. To get that off, it's going to take hours. But let's move over to give you an example of hybrid. I can pull all this stuff out in 15 minutes flat, probably even less. This is a cargo box, I can pull it out. That makes it hybrid because I can use this for work, I can use it for play. G'day, boss. Oh, how many bags of cement? Oh, no worries, mate. I'll be in a jiffy. Let's make some space. This is where it changes. Mud tyres, lift, all the gear in the vehicle. And that's where the term all the gear and no idea comes from. It's having a vehicle completely kitted out, but you're never really taking it off-road. You know, some things are handy to have, but do you really need it? Do you need to spend money on it? Do you need mud tyres? Do you need big tyres? Do you need a roof rack? Do you need all this stuff when you only go camping every so often? Because everything you add to your vehicle is going to cost you in fuel, it's going to cost you in accessories, it's going to cost you in maintenance as well. Something to think about. I'm not saying don't do it, I'm just saying consider it before you do it. A touchy subject, so I'm going to start off by saying expensive gear is not always the best. There's a difference between expensive and quality. Two different things. Now I've made that statement, let's talk about cheap four-wheel drive accessories and cheap four-wheel drive camping gear. I found in my 20 years of using cheap gear that it lasts about a quarter of the time, sometimes less, sometimes more, but generally around a quarter of the time that quality gear will last you. That's what you can kind of expect. Now, some people can only afford the cheap gear, it gets them out there, gets them camping, it's great, and it's good, that's why it's there. However, for those who can afford to save up or can afford the next tier up, I highly encourage you guys to go for that gear because it's going to last you longer. You're investing in it and you won't be back later to spend more money to replace whatever it is that's broken. So if it's something you're using a lot, go up further in the quality. If it's something you don't use very often, you can probably get away with the cheap stuff. Damn you, one-ply toilet paper. You should have got 3-ply. Electronics and gadgets, you don't want to go cheap because it's just not good practice. Things can go wrong, it won't do what you want it to do. For example, solar panels and blankets, they won't be as effective. They may say 200 watts, but they're never going to give you that, anywhere near that. Whereas a quality panel will still not give you that, but it will be a lot closer to it. It'll give you more of what it's telling you on that box. Cheap gear is a luck of the draw. It's more likely to break or fail on you. Quality gear, the luck of the draw is reduced. So you are probably going to be better off in that sense. Give you an example, an awning. A very cheap, well-known brand awnings I see on tag-alongs all the time. I see on a lot of vehicles. It's a common thing that people go cheap on, is an awning. When the wind blows and it catches it, they are gone. It snaps. It needs to be replaced. Let's take a good quality awning. Torbs. My mate Torbs has ARB awnings all around his vehicle. Now, some people will consider ARB awnings overpriced. That said, however, I saw an awning blow over on his car, even crossed arms and everything. We were able to pull it back down and use it without having to repair anything. So there's a good example of where your money goes. Research and development, more robust. Those are the kind of things that you can explain, and it's just one example out of many. That said, I have had two cheap winches. The first one failed within 2 months. The second one lasted me 5 years. Luck of the draw. Consider it. One more thing, the environment. The more cheap, shitty stuff that ends up on people's vehicles and breaks, we often see it out here in the bush, laying around, because people have discarded it, it's broken on the track, they don't want it, so they chuck it in the bush. We never see quality stuff left in the bush. Just think about that one too. There are a lot of presenters and influencers out there, and you need to learn how to read between the lines. Action. Introducing the new Australian bark water infused with H2O and CO2. Tastes amazing. Cut! No, is this shit? See, a lot of these people are paid to use specific products they normally wouldn't use. That is something you need to be aware of. And you can tend to see on their passion and their honesty on camera. You can actually see it if you look hard enough. And this is why this unit is one of the leading GPS units on the market. Get yourself one today. It even almost fits into your pocket.
Okay, that's all we need. Have you got it working so we can get out of here?
It says we're in Bolivia. I think we're lost. How much water we got? I'm getting thirsty. Even if you're listening to your favorite presenter or influencer talking about a product, go and look for real people reviews. Look for the real people reviews and then compare your notes. And from there you can make a pretty good solid choice on what you want to do. I just wanted to drop that in there. Ask the questions, know your stuff, do your research. Read the fine print. Yes, you just caught me looking at my roof rack. The previous roof rack I got caught out on. That's one example. And I think most of you guys will know what I'm talking about. If you don't, there is a video you can go to at some stage. It's probably a really good one to watch if you haven't seen it because it creates awareness. It's a safety matter. It's on your roof. Roof rack can come off if it's not done properly. You get the picture. Another thing I just learned recently, which I've been doing wrong every now and then, is a recovery point down here. I didn't realize at the time that there is a certain way you must put your bow shackle into the recovery point. There's a wrong way and there's a right way. And there is reason and physics behind it. And you're not going to find these things out unless you read the fine print. It's something you need to be aware of. When you buy an accessory for your vehicle, ask the questions. Questions like, how's it mounted? What's the weight? What's the rating on it, depending on what it is? Like a recovery point, that has a rating. A roof rack has a rating. Your roof on your vehicle has a rating. The weight, the GVM, everything has a rating somewhere, especially when it's on your vehicle. So make sure you ask all those questions. When it comes to camping gear, that's a bit different. But when it comes to stuff you're bolting on your vehicle and you're paying a lot of money for, you have the right to know all the ins and outs. And if the people can't tell you all the answers, then you might need to dig a bit further or maybe think a bit more about it before you commit to buying whatever it is you're looking at buying for your vehicle. Rubbish and doing poos in the bush. Always bury it, always bury your paper. When you can, burn your paper. That's something you need to know. But rubbish, it's something you are going to encounter. It's something we're all dealing with every single time we head out in the bush. Throughout the last over 20 years, I've heard people whinge and moan and complain. And a lot of these people that whinge and moan and complain, we don't actually see them pick up any rubbish. I'm not saying they don't, but it's better to show picking up rubbish makes a difference rather than just whinge about it. So that's something I just wanted to leave you guys with there. Everywhere you go, pick up 1 or 2 or 3 items, or you can fill a whole bag like I have here. It's not something you need to do, but it's good to do it. It's good practice to do it because it does actually make a difference. And if you see someone, one of your mates or one of your kids or something, throwing stuff out of a window or something like that, call them out. You'll be surprised how effective it is. I've called a few people out in the past and they actually respect you for it at the end of it because they see it themselves. They realise that I shouldn't have done that. So rather than cutting people down and whinging about it on social media, let's just pick some stuff up every time we go camping or even just full driving in the bush. There's always room in that rubbish bag, always room. 20 years plus, those were my tips, those were my advice. And there are many other people out there that have done it for 20 or more years, 30 or more, 40, 50 years or more. If you are watching, put down your one bit of advice you would like to give people from your whole collective of experience. Anything you think that I might have left out that you think is vital, put it down below. I'd love to know what your advice will be. Until next time. See you later.